So, Matthew 11:20. Then he began to upbraid the cities wherein most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. What does it mean to upbraid somebody?
Like, one up them, maybe?
No.
Attack.
No.
Upbraid.
Like, better, like...
No, I mean, was that
You mean you don't know what it means to upbraid somebody? How stupid can you be?
That's probably the
Antagonize?
definition of it.
Really? You don't know? That's what it means. It means to insult them. Jesus insulted the cities. Jesus insulted the cities. He revealed that they were already full of reproach. Why? Because they saw all the works and they did not change. They did not transform. They did not choose the path of life. When I ask somebody to do something, or when we move in the process of asking people to do stuff, and they insist on not changing, and they insist on making their faces flint and being stubborn and bullheaded and pig-headed stubbornness and all this other stuff. That's the point at which they cease to repent. And at that point, there's a principle here. Jesus does upbraid people. Who does he upbraid? The people who are choosing not to transform. The people who are rejecting what he has to say. Just outright, stubbornly, bullheadedly, pig-headedly. When he's trying to keep them from foolishness and stupidity and unwisdom and garbage behavior. See, we used to think of Jesus as a smoldering wick he will not extinguish, and a badly bruised reed he will not break. He'll break somebody that's stiff-necked, though. And before he does that, to get your attention in a wake-up call, he will insult you. Maybe I need to do something about this. Because maybe I've been walking in foolishness for far too long. Maybe I've been doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results rather than the different results. Maybe I should become sick and tired of being sick and tired. Maybe I should change. Maybe I should treat my brother and sister with kindness, with respect to ice, with respect to fill in the blank here. If you'll notice, there are times when I get snarky in response to behavior where we're refusing to repent, to transform. And when you decide that you're going to do this right here and you start butting heads, then I can tell I'm not going to get through by what the world deems gentle, kind means. Whether or not the three of you realize it, children, y'all are sheep, y'all are goats, y'all are herding animals. And the shepherd takes care of his sheep and goats. This is not a Matthew 25 parable. This is you are herding animals in my farm at this point. And when you resort to just and I have to get my crook and say, get over here. Whether or not you realize it or not, we are trying to do things for your benefit, not your destruction. That's part of the reason why spending time at the table together in Bible, pointing nose in Bible, is where it's at, not in the living room or wherever I feel like it, or on my bed, or any place where I don't have a place where my Bible is open and I can look down at it and read and have a place to write. Morning devotionals is not a time to get comfy, it's a time to get in the Word and bang out some principles. Because most of what you're learning in church is not principle based.
Excuse me.
Most churches in the charismatic movement don't give a whit about principles 90% of the time. The move of the Spirit. You know, I can do the move of the Spirit all day long, but we need some principles to go with our touchy-feely nonsense. And we need some touchy-feely nonsense to help give some feeling and some sensation to our principles. We need the both and, not the either or. Do you have anything to add, my dear?
So, as far as the sheep thing and the butting against, what you guys don't realize when you're butting is you're butting against something that will hurt you. Okay, so it is part of our job to, just like the shepherd, if the sheep is butting his head against a razor wire fence, his head is going to be shredded. And sheep have hard heads and may not even realize it, but every open cut invites bugs. And the shepherd pulls the sheep away with the crook, trying to protect the sheep from himself. Or when a sheep is straying too far, the shepherd goes and brings him back, and the sheep be like, the grass is better here, I don't trust you to, give me the best grass. But the wolf is on the other side, hiding behind the rock, and the sheep doesn't know that. God gives us vision, and we have life experience that y'all don't have. So there are ways that we're instructing you and teaching you in the way you should go, that the Lord gives us for your protection. And you're not at a stage where you need to understand it all.
And like the shepherd is going to pour wine into the sheep's wounds, and it's going to sting, and we end up spiritually pouring alcohol in your wounds, and it stings because you were engaging in sheep-headed, goat-headed, pig-headed stubbornness, bull-headed stubbornness. And now, ow, what are you doing to me? You're hurting me. No, actually, I'm trying to disinfect the wound so it doesn't get infected and kill you.
Exactly. Trying to bring healing. There are life skills and life disciplines that you guys all need to learn. And if we just, pull back and don't teach you, one, we're accountable before the Lord. And you three don't know how to walk like you should be walking when you're teenagers and adults. We're teaching you life skills that will help you succeed. And every time you buck against that, you're hurting yourself. And making us look like we're doing the wrong thing when we're listening to Father and looking to do the right thing. It's the same thing with God. So he gives us this wonderful book of principles. Every time we buck against the principles, every time we say, hey, I'm going to go off and do this on my own. I don't like your timeline. I'm going to do this on my own. I don't like what you've provided for me. I'm going to do this on my own. We're fighting against God, who really does know better, and we're saying to him, I don't trust you. You're not good enough. You can't provide for me. I don't like what you've done. And the enemy goes, yay! And he gets to piggyback on top and make our lives really miserable on top of our own really unwise choices. So this doesn't stop when you get to be an older teenager or an adult. It continues because we continue to have authority over us. So the Lord has put you in a home with godly parents who are trying to raise you. And so the Lord may specifically correct you guys directly. More likely, he's going to speak to us, and that's what we're doing. As you get older, the Lord will be more in your face, and we will be less in your face. But the Lord is always in our face.
Do you know what I'm trying to hand you right now in the Spirit? You probably don't even realize it because you're so concerned with how I'm looking at you. Do you have any idea, dear?
I'm not concerned. I'm just.
Do you have any idea?
Nope.
Books. Ferdinand is taking you into the library, and there are books present. He's trying to hand you books. Go ahead, dear.
So there's some reframing that needs to happen. You think about it, even in school, okay? The teachers have a responsibility to teach you a certain level of material, okay? It is not their job to make it fun. It's not their job to make you learn it. It's not their fun to make it enjoyable. But if you don't learn it, you will pay the consequence of not being able to pass that class or pass that grade. That your life is going to be full of people who are trying to help you unpack, trying to help you go up higher, and people who have authority over you for even a small season. That that was placed there so that you could become closer to what God has for you. And then there's going to be times when you have to just reach inside you and say, I've got to master this skill. Practice, 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 like an instrument, or self-control, or doing everything without complaining or arguing, which is a biblical principle. Taking every thought captive, a biblical principle. Watching what you're thinking and bringing it to things that are good and kind and pure, not thinking the worst in somebody. The more you spend your thoughts thinking about how awful this person is, or how awful that action is, or how awful this person treats you, you're going to be so focused on the negative that everything that comes in is going to get twisted through the negative. And all of a sudden it's going to be, my life is yuck, my life is horrible, my life is whatever, there's no blah. And everything gets twisted in your negative view. Okay? Amen. That's what he's talking about here. These principles. Okay.
There are times when my look is not going to be a look of flowers and hearts and everything else. There are times when my look is going to be one of books, one of instruction, one of correction, one of light. One of be aware of this pitfall over here because it could kill you. There really is a principle behind there when he says, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you are to go. I will guide you with my eye. But we can't see the forest for the trees because we're so obsessed over, oh my goodness, he's looking at me. No, I'm actually trying to instruct you. If you're picking up the connection, the Lord is trying to instruct you with a glance, with a look, with a protracted look. He's got something, he has something for you, and it may not always be pink polka dots and pooping out rainbows and farting out unicorns. he might have a book to give you, and that book might have some things in it that you desperately need in this season. But if you're so concerned with the exterior wrapping paper that you cannot receive the gift, then you're going to miss out on something that rightly deserves to be stewarded. And you'll end up doing the whole, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to transform, I'm not going to adapt or adopt, I'm not going to appropriate or allocate this. And then it'll go by the road, and the birds will pick it up. So, the unrepentant ones are the seed that fell on the road. They didn't take root. They didn't let the sun touch them. They didn't let the water touch them. The bird came, picked them up, ate them, and chewed on them, cropped them, gizzarded them, and pooped them out. And the shepherd said, let's try this again. And so he plops the seed on a different soil. As the soil bird prepared. Everybody can be the fourth soil, everybody. But it takes some fire and it takes some some hammers. Is not my word a fire, saith the Lord, and a hammer to break the rocks into pieces. When we get to the four soils, we'll break that down for you like a shotgun. So, do y'all have any questions?
No, but I've got a slight remark, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
I didn't know that you guys could break a shotgun.
Indeed. So, those are just some thoughts for this morning. Be blessed, gang.